Hey everyone, Nicki Traikos here of Life by Design. I'm really excited to share this color mixing video with you. It is fall and pumpkin season. Fall happens to be my favorite time of year. I love as the colors change. There are more muted tones. I'm looking at the window. There's fiery yellows and some reds with the leaves changing. I'm going to show you how to change your watercolor palette from the brights that we've been painting with all summer long, and how you can use color theory and the color wheel to mute your colors and to really enjoy doing some color mixing that might be a little bit new and different for you, but in a way that's so simple and you can create some beautiful color mixes. So the only thing that you need is a handy color wheel. If you haven't painted one with me in Watercolors Made Simple, I suggest you do. And you can always pick one of these up from your local art supply store as well. I really love having either one handy, but I'm going to use this one for today's lesson. So we're going to be inspired by these pumpkins and fall and even just the beautiful colors and moods that we can create with some color mixing. Sound good? So let's get started with some painting. Okay, so it's fall season. It's time to mute our nice bright tones that we've been painting with over the spring and summer and start to bring in some moody fall colors. So I'm just going to swatch my primaries that I have here. So this is Winsor Yellow is what I like to use, all by Winsor & Newton Professionals, a Permanent Rose, and I think I chose Prussian Blue. So you can use whatever colors you have in your palette. But what we're going to do is learn about how to tone down our colors. Again, it's fall. Maybe you're painting some pumpkins. I'll take a little bit of my red and a little bit of my yellow here to mix an orange. So maybe you're a traditionalist and you like to paint things very literally and more traditionally. So if you're working on a pumpkin painting, which I'm going to do just really quickly, then maybe you're using a bright orange like this one that I've just mixed quickly. And here I'm just going to paint very quickly my pumpkin. Again, we're going to do some loose, fun paintings of pumpkins just to test out colors. So here's my pumpkin, and I'll need a stem. So I'm just mixing a little bit of blue into that orange. And there's my very primitive sort of pumpkin there. But if you love this sort of brighter tone of orange, then go for it. But if you are looking to paint, my orange got a little bit messy. This is just a mixing palette that I have handy that I like to use for when I kind of want some freedom for my paints to flow and not worry too much about, again, being pure with my pigments. So use what you have. There's my orange again. So if you wanted to maybe mix a more muted tone of that orange for a pumpkin that is probably less traditional, then what you can do is look across from the color wheel to notice what color is directly across from it. So I have a really nice warm orange tone here that I just mixed up. So if I look across the color wheel from orange is blue. Now you saw that I added a bit of blue to that stem. So I'm going to add just the tiniest amount to begin with. So I'm using just the tip of my brush to tone down this orange. And I want you to see what that looks like. So I'm using a color that is across the color wheel from the orange tone, and it is complementary because it is across from the color wheel, and look at that nice deep orange that it gives me. So again, if I use it to paint this very primitive pumpkin here, just using single strokes, it is a bit of a darker mix, but it is also because I've toned it. Then you can see that I have a darker orange versus this really light orange. Okay, again, we'll use that same tone just for a bit of the stem. Okay, so let's do that again. Let's mix a green. Just want to make sure you can see my mixing palette. You can. So I'm taking, again, that yellow, a little bit of the green or the blue, to create this really nice punchy green. So let's go ahead and swatch it right here. And it's a beautiful, bright, it reminds me of a grass green. So if I want to look at the color wheel, so the color across from green is actually magenta. So if I pick up a little bit more of that pink, it is Permanent Rose. I'm going to add a bit of water here. I may have picked up too much pink or Permanent Rose, but I can make a gorgeous moody green, which, oh, again, is so beautiful. So if I were to start painting some leaves with that green, again, it's just moody and beautiful. Okay, so don't be afraid to mix colors that are across from one another on the color wheel so that you can start to tone down your colors. So again, if you look at the bright secondary orange, and then we've muted it down with a bit of blue, there's our secondary color of green that we muted down with a little bit of that Permanent Rose. Okay, let's do another one. So we mixed yellow and red, we mixed yellow and blue. Let's try mixing a blue and red together. So again, take a little bit, and I'm just using the tip of my brush, and it's not exact. Have fun mixing your colors. Again, I cover color theory in Watercolors Made Simple. So if you're looking for a little bit more practice, I also have a color mixing made simple class, but color mixing I think is important for artists to play around with and really get comfortable with color mixing, because you don't need to buy every color under the sun in order to mix some beautiful tones. Okay, so there is my violet. So if I were to look at my violet, you can even see it says complementary. Let's turn it this way. There's my key color, so there's my violet. Across from violet is a yellow green. So I know if I mix a little bit of my yellow and take a little bit of my green, so it says yellow green. So that means I need, let me add a bit more water here. I need more yellow than blue to mix a yellow green. I'm even going to go stronger. So I need to mix this yellow green in order to tone down this violet. I may have added too much. We'll see what happens, but it should be eggplanty. Yeah, I probably mixed in a little too much. So see, it's experimenting. I put in a little bit too much yellow green. So let's mix our violet again. So we'll take some of our purple, put it over here so you can see, and move my glass out of the way. Take my Permanent Rose till I get a nice violet color. Okay, I'll swatch that again. Beautiful. So now I'll take a tiny bit of that yellow green, and now I should get more of an eggplanty tone. There we go. So it's just muting that purple. So this is a great color if you wanted to paint some wildflowers with. But again, so you can see how we went from really bright violet to a nice eggplanty violet. And I actually even don't mind that color. It reminds me of more of a khaki green, which is kind of cool. Okay, so what you should be doing is doing these color studies in your sketchbook. You can do them on a sheet like this. So grab a pencil and start making your notes. So you obviously, we know what colors we started with. This is Permanent Rose, blue, and then here we know that we mixed yellow plus blue, and this is yellow plus blue, and of course we look across from the color wheel. So of course we look across from the color wheel, we added some magenta. So I'm going to put Permanent Rose because that's the color that I use for my magenta. And even here, so you can look again at your color wheel if you don't remember. Look at the key color is orange, so across from orange we added blue. So this one is plus blue. Okay, so make your notes so that you remember as you're color mixing what colors you need to create these nice muted fall tones. and go from there. So if you're working on painting some pumpkins, let's even sketch a little pumpkin. So I have the one that was on my desk. So I'm just going to sketch the top a little bit. And again, these are things that you can do just in your sketchbook as you are working on compositions for your painting, as you're working on color mixing. So I'm just going to create a really nice rounded pumpkin that we can use the form of to paint. And I can kind of see the top and back of my pumpkin. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to mix a nice blue, a gray blue that we can use to paint the pumpkin. So if we go to our mixes here, if I mix a little bit of green, I'm going to start with green and then add in a touch of this magenta to get it nice and muted, and then pull in a little bit more of this blue. And then we'll just see what happens. So you can even swatch it. So if I want to swatch the color, it's a little bit more on the green side than I intended. So I'm going to tone it with a little bit more blue, which feels really good, very close to what's sitting on my desk. And I'm just going to add lots of water to it. So I'm using one of my new brushes. We sold out in 24 hours of these brushes, which was amazing. We are getting more in. It will take some time, but I'm just using the number 8. So if you have this brush, the number 8 is what I'm using for this pumpkin. Ooh, look at it nice and watered down. So let's go ahead. And what I'll do is I'll just use my pencil lines to guide me, and I'll let the watercolor puddle where it may. I'll even do some wet on wet. I want this just to be really nice and loose. So I'll go ahead and put in the second, and I'll even leave some white space. And if you want to pull away, because I have light on my pumpkin right now, you can pull away some highlight there. But I really love that nice greeny blue that we've mixed up. Even add some water to my brush. Maybe this side's a little bit lighter. Maybe there's light on this side. But again, just be really loose. Have fun with painting your fall themed, whether it's leaves or pumpkins. It really is my favorite time of year with all the color. And just really lightly up at the top here. This is my 5-minute pumpkin painting. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can go back in and add wet on wet just where you maybe want a little bit of definition. You can even go between the grooves of the pumpkin. Remember, work on your values. If you're new to watercolors in general, I have so many resources and classes created just for artists who are looking to just enjoy watercolor painting more. There we go. And the stem is a little bit of a yellowy tone. Oh, I like it. Just rough and loose. It has personality. So let's grab some yellow. And what's across the color wheel from yellow? So I don't want it to be a bright yellow. The key color is yellow. We look at it, it is blue, but it's more of a purpley blue. So I'm going to pick up some of this violet that we've mixed up, and I'm almost looking for a straw color. So let's go ahead and swatch it. Golden straw, exactly what I was hoping for. And I'm just going to really loosely let that color, even if it gets absorbed into a bit of the pumpkin color, I don't mind. And I'm just pulling away the highlight in here, and I can even drop a little bit more of that tone there. Okay, so really easy. Play around with your color mixing and color theory practice. If you don't practice color mixing often as maybe something you do in your warm-ups, then I suggest you start, again, if you use a sketchbook to make note of whatever color mixes you're working on. I think that's a really great idea. Don't be afraid of blooms. I love when watercolor just naturally, I used a lot of water in those sections. I love it when watercolor just does its thing and really starts to bring out the personality and texture and things like that with your painting. It's just a beautiful part of this medium. Just going to go in here. And if you want to paint pumpkins with me in our October watercolor lounge that we had in the past, we have some great pumpkin painting in that section. Okay, so there is your color mixing for fall tones. There is so much for you to play with here. I hope you enjoyed it, and play around with muting your color palette and having fun with bringing it into the fall season. Thanks for joining, happy painting, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this and let me know what you did. I'll see you next time.